I mean, Bob was going on earlier about the preponderance of evidence and hit a few great ones. And then, I was thinking in my head, the no circumnavigation north-south. I saw that ZQ pilot fly from Brazil to the South Pole, turn around and go back to Brazil, then head across the Pacific to New Zealand, up to the North Pole, back home, and they gave him the record for circumnavigation. And that's the kind of thing that you have to do when you're hiding the shape of the Earth. But things that should be obvious to everyone else of what's going on here, that if we really had a spherical Earth and we had records for people who circumnavigated north-south, certainly it would not be okay to fly to the South Pole, then back to Brazil, then across to New Zealand, across the Pacific, and head up north and say, yeah, I circumnavigated. No, you certainly didn't. Yeah. You didn't at all circumnavigate.
That's exactly like the Antarctic Cup. I had somebody challenge me with that. What about the Antarctic Cup? And so I looked it up, and they're supposedly circumnavigating around Antarctica, they make it sound like they're going along the coast, the ice wall or whatever it would be. They don't claim that exists, but the Antarctic Cup is different legs of a journey, that take place zigzagging all around, supposedly at the 60-degree latitude south, and it's just like all the other things. They
don't even claim it's 60 degrees south. Like the Antarctica Cup race,
45,
most of it occurs around 45, right? Because this one particular guy, Fedor Konyakov, holds some records from pretty recently, where he was the first one in that category to go even in the high 50s. That's where, the whole thing falls apart, because they're not anywhere even near the South Polar Circle. They're in the far south, yes, but around the 40s and maybe the low 50 degrees south, but certainly not in the 60s.
No, with all the sea ice that's down there, it just becomes a problem for anybody getting close. And then when you look at those cup races, and I know that I was paying attention to the Catharsis 2 that took 100 days to go around the south. And, when you look at their speeds, they come back as being at 4 knots. So I went looking into this boat, like, what kind of boat is only doing 4 knots? And no, the boat can do 30, 40 knots easy, but in their trip around Antarctica trying to beat some record and do it within 100 days, they only did 4 knots. Well, if those things aren't obvious enough to people to realize that something's wrong there, that this boat that can go so fast is only moving down there at 4 knots, then, that's where I see issues. Same thing with no undersea cables that were ever run from New Zealand or Australia to South America. Well, the reason would be because they would have come up thousands of miles short on their wire and would have been like, what the hell's going on? So they just never, ran them there. And same thing with cruises down south. There's no cruises from New Zealand or Australia to South America straight across, because it would take days longer than we're to believe. So these things are the kind of evidence and clues that, yeah, do I have a model? Do I know what the sun is exactly? No, but that doesn't mean you can't point out clear cases of deception and things that should open our eyes. Like, hey, wake up!